Imagine a world filled with a resource called thunder cores, which can be used to power electricity-based inventions, such as electric weapons and vehicles like blimps. More importantly, there are thunder core humans, who can generate thunder core energy from their bodies, allowing them to do extraordinary things. This resource has led to a large amount of war and the rise of the Edenia Empire, an advanced fascist organization hell-bent on world domination. In this effort, they have turned Thunder Core humans into second-class citizens, who are then exploited as human batteries. Our protagonist, Tatsu Frampt, is a special Thunder Core human. Unlike other Thunder Core humans, he and 6 other children were exposed to Thunder Cores at a very young age, making them extremely powerful. However, a soldier from Edenia took pity on them and fled with them to a remote area, where they were raised in peace and harmony for some time. All the children spend their days fascinating about Magonia, a mythical floating island. However, this fantasy is quickly dashed when the Edenian soldiers finally catch up to them. Tatsu escapes, but he is separated from all the others who are captured. Several years pass, and one day, one of the other captured children, Mono, is rescued by an older Tatsu. He liberates a legion of Thunder Core humans, steals a blimp called the Red Sprite, declares that he and his people are forming an independent nation, and declares war on the Edenia Empire. He hopes to establish this free nation on Magonia, if he can find it, of course. But first, he hopes to find all the others. From there, they get into scuffles with the Edenia Empire, and more notably, are able to make contact with another independent nation, a nation called Nalbion, where another of Tatsu's friend fled years ago. The Nalbion kingdom is currently under attack by the Edenia Empire, which wishes to assimilate it. He arrives there, helps his friend fight off the nation, and defeats an Edenian high-ranking soldier known as an Ash Soldier, who are super strong Thunder Core soldiers who weaponize electromagnetic ash. In the end, this enemy is defeated, and Tatsu is able to establish public relations with the kingdom. With new friends on his side and a new hope to achieve their goals, Tatsu heads out into the horizon. And then, that's it. No, really, that's it. After this point, the manga gets cancelled. This was the story of Red Sprite, a manga published in Weekly Shonen Jump. When it first came out, a lot of readers resonated with the story. However, it was canned 14 chapters in with a rushed conclusion. What a shame, really. This series had true potential to be something great, but was snuffed out before it could. But what if it didn't have to? In this video, I'm going to examine the chapters we got, and then try to guess the ending we could have had. The main way I will guess the ending is by tying up all the loose ends the manga leaves unanswered, which are mainly 3 things: complete the nation, defeat the enemy, and find the island. Okay, the first thing to do is to complete the nation, and by that I mean Tatsu reconnecting with all his lost friends. In chapter 1, they specify that, including Tatsu, Mano, and Alfred, there are 7 children at the orphanage, and we see a small glimpse of all of them around the world, which implies that we will see them again. We don't know the names of the 4 other children. All we have to go off of is their faces, so I will refer to them as children 1 to 4. Child 1 is the only girl in the group. She is currently in a wheelchair and seems to live in an area with massive old cameras, and there's a good chance that she's being held captive. Once they save her from her captives, she can become one of their top spies, spying on other enemy nations. Child 2 is looking at them through an old TV, and more importantly, has a metal arm, which indicates that he has been through a lot of turmoil these past 4 years. And I get the small implication that he built that hand himself, so once he joins the team, he can become their mechanic. Child 3 seems to be having a terrible time. The fact that he is in chains in a fiery place proves that whoever is chaining him up sees him as too much of a threat. Once they liberate him, he can become their tank, since he's clearly very powerful. Child 4 seems to have also had a very rough 4 years, which is kind of apparent through his scars. But more importantly, he is connected to several tubes, which could be feeding off his high Thunder Core potential. But only Mono was described as such, so perhaps the tubes are feeding him more power, making him more powerful. When they liberate him, he can become their powerhouse, literally. Once the crew is fully assembled, nothing will stop them from achieving their goal of finding Magonia. As I established before, one of the biggest goals set in the manga is conquering the ancient island of Magonia. There are several different directions we can go to complete this. I am pretty sure that if the series went on, it would have continued to give hints and clues about the history of the island. But since it was cancelled, all we can do is make very limited guesses. But we do know one thing. The island was supposed to be in the sky. Even though they own a blimp that can enter the stratosphere, they can't find it, whether it be due to the location or something else. We can go in two different directions. The first is that there is no island. The island is simply a myth, and from there, they realize that if they want a home, they have to make one, which amplifies their desire to defeat the Edenia Empire. Or second, the island is real, and they find everything they need. From here, we can perhaps link the island to something more ancient. Perhaps there used to exist an ancient people who lived on the island and tried to oppose the Edenia Empire but failed. But they left behind weapons strong enough to oppose the Empire. Regardless of which path you choose, in the end, they realize that they need to defeat their enemies to be free. So after completing his crew and finding the island, the last thing left to do is to finish the story by defeating the Edenia Empire. So Tatsu, after getting much stronger, would face off against the enemy in a climactic war. It's not just about defeating their leader, which will happen, but more about defeating his ideology. The Edenia Empire believes in their own superiority over others. Therefore, they see themselves as the rightful rulers of the earth. However, if their ideology is shattered, it will make it much easier to wipe out the empire from the face of the earth. This can happen with the right people fighting each other. And the most natural progression would be Tatsu defeating the leader of the opposition, David Atlas. And as the final boss, he would need some endgame level powers. And since we know people can manipulate the electromagnetic spectrum, I always imagined that he would have control over the electromagnetic field of the earth, allowing him to cause some ultimatum magneto levels of destruction. Once he is defeated, it will end in the dismantling of the empire. And once they face their end, they can start a new beginning, creating a country where everyone is free. Look, it's not perfect, I know that, but I still think it was a very fun storytelling experiment. And hey, if you have any notes you'd like to give or your own interpretation, I will gladly hear them in the comments. If you enjoyed this video on storytelling, you can go watch another one all about the art of rising stakes. I'm a YouTuber, you're a viewer. I did the YouTube thing, so you do the viewer thing. Like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Okay, bye.